I always believed families were supposed to support each other, but my mother had a special talent for making me feel like the biggest disappointment on earth. It didn't matter that I worked hard, paid my own bills, and lived independently. To her, none of it counted unless I did one thing: send her money. Specifically, $10,000. Every month. Just like my sister supposedly did. The perfect child. It started on a random Tuesday morning when my phone buzzed repeatedly. I was still half asleep, trying to gather the energy for another exhausting workday, when my mother's name flashed across the screen. I debated answering because every conversation with her lately felt like an emotional ambush. I answered anyway, hoping maybe this time she'd call just to say hello. "Do you enjoy embarrassing us?" she barked the moment I picked up. I sat up straight. "Good morning to you too, Mom. Don't be smart with me," she snapped. "Your sister sent us $10,000 again this month. What did you send?" "Nothing as usual." Her voice was sharp enough to slice through my patience. I rubbed my eyes, trying to stay calm. "Mom, I told you, I'm paying off my student loans. I can't afford to send that kind of money." "Excuses," she said like she was spitting the word out. "Your sister is responsible. She works hard. She cares about her parents. You're selfish." I felt a familiar wave of hurt. "Mom, I work 2 jobs. I'm doing my best." "Your best is useless," she snapped. "If you really cared, you would find a way. But no, you prefer to keep every penny for yourself while your sister carries all the burden." That was the moment something inside me cracked. I was tired of being compared, tired of being guilt-tripped, tired of being the family's punching bag. "Okay," I said slowly. "If she sent $10,000 again, show me the receipt." There was a long pause. For the first time in the whole conversation, she didn't have a ready insult. "What did you say?" "You heard me. If she's sending $10,000 every month, just show me proof. A bank statement, a screenshot, anything. You're questioning your sister's integrity." My mother shouted. "I'm asking for proof," I repeated, my voice steady. "If she's sending that much, I want to congratulate her. But I also want to know why I have to send the same amount. So show me." My mother didn't answer. Instead, I heard muffled talking in the background. Then my dad's voice came on the line, angry and booming. "How dare you accuse your sister?" he yelled. "She is better than you in every way. She sacrifices. She cares. You're just jealous." "I didn't accuse her," I said calmly. "I only asked for proof." "You don't ask questions in this house," he snapped. "You send money when your parents need it. That's the rule. But I don't live in your house anymore," I reminded him. "I'm not a child. And I'm not sending money blindly based on some story with no proof." "Story," he repeated, furious. "You're calling your parents liars." "I'm calling this situation suspicious," I said. "And if you want me to contribute financially, I deserve transparency." My dad's voice shot up several octaves. "We raised you. We fed you. We educated you. And this is how you repay us. By demanding bank statements like we're criminals." I closed my eyes, tired. "Dad, I appreciate everything you did for me. But emotional manipulation won't magically put $10,000 in my account. I can't afford it. And even if I could, I wouldn't send it unless I knew exactly what was happening." There was another long silence. Then he muttered, "Ungrateful child," and hung up. I stared at the phone, the call disconnected, my chest tight. I wanted to cry, not because of what they said, but because I knew this wouldn't end here. And I was right. For the next week, they spammed my phone with messages, long paragraphs calling me selfish, ungrateful, disrespectful. They reminded me of every sacrifice they made, every gift they ever bought me, every time they fed me, every time they so much as breathed near me. And in every message, they compared me to my sister, the golden one, the successful one, the caring one. I didn't respond. Not once. Then, my sister messaged me. "Hey," she wrote. "I heard you're causing problems. Can we talk?" I stared at the message for a long time before typing back. "Sure." She video called me immediately, hair perfectly styled, makeup flawless, sitting in what looked like a luxury apartment. "So what's this drama about?" she asked with a sigh, like she was too glamorous to deal with family problems. "Mom and Dad said you send them $10,000 every month," I said. "Is that true?" She hesitated just long enough to raise every red flag in the world. "Well, not exactly," she finally admitted. "But why does it matter?" "It matters because they're demanding I send the same amount." "Oh," she said, rolling her eyes. "They're just exaggerating. I send what I can. Sometimes a few hundred, sometimes nothing. But why did you make a big deal out of it? Because they told me I'm useless and irresponsible for not sending $10,000. She sighed again, annoyed. You know how they are. Just let them talk. No, I said firmly. This time they crossed the line. She frowned. Why are you being dramatic? I hung up the call. For the first time in my life, I didn't apologize. I didn't back down. I didn't swallow my pain to keep the peace. I chose myself. But I knew this wasn't the end. Something much bigger was coming. I could feel it. And I was right. After the fight with my sister, I expected things to calm down. Maybe a few days of silent treatment, maybe a few guilt messages, and then everything would return to the usual dysfunctional normal. But this time was different. This time, my parents seemed determined to punish me for daring to question their sacred narrative. The following weekend, my father showed up at my apartment unannounced. I heard the pounding on my door from across the room, each knock louder and more demanding than the last. I debated pretending I wasn't home, but then he shouted my full name, and I knew I had no escape. I opened the door to find him glaring at me, his face red with anger. Are you going to let me in? He barked. I stepped aside silently. He walked in like he owned the place, inspecting everything with judgmental eyes, as if searching for evidence that I lived too comfortably to deny him money. He sat down on my couch without asking. You've become arrogant since moving out, he said. I didn't respond. I just waited, knowing he was here with an agenda. You embarrassed your mother, he began. She cried all night because of you. She thinks you hate her. I swallowed irritation. I never said anything like that. I simply asked for proof. He slammed his hand on the armrest. We don't owe you proof. We are your parents. You do what we say. I stayed silent again because arguing would be pointless. He continued. We decided, he paused dramatically, that you must start sending at least $5,000 a month. Your sister sends what she can. She doesn't question us. And she never complains. You will do the same. I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was surreal. Dad, I said carefully. I don't have $5,000 to give you. Then make more money, he snapped. Work harder. I work 60 hours a week. He waved his hand dismissively. So work 80. Or get a better job. That's not how life works, I said quietly. Life works exactly as we tell you it works, he replied. We raised you. We deserve support. I agree, I said. But support isn't the same as exploitation. His face twisted with rage. Is that what you think? That we are using you? I looked him dead in the eyes. Yes. The silence that followed was sharp enough to cut through bone. He stood up slowly, his jaw clenched tight. You ungrateful child, he said. You think you're too smart now. Too important. But you will regret this attitude. He stormed toward the door, but before leaving, he turned back one last time. And since you love proof so much, he said mockingly, maybe we'll just come take what we need ourselves next time. The threat hung in the air long after he left. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying the conversation in my head, wondering how things had escalated so badly. Wondering if I'd done something wrong. Wondering if maybe I was being selfish. But deep down, I knew the truth. My parents weren't asking for help. They were demanding control. And I was done being controlled. The next morning, I changed my locks just in case. Then I blocked my parents and my sister on everything, calls, messages, social media. Even email. For the first time in years, I felt a strange sense of peace. But it lasted only 3 days. On the 4th day, my landlord called. Hi, he said awkwardly. Your father came by the building today. He told management that you asked him to pick up your mail. They led him into the mailbox area. My stomach dropped. What? Why would they do that? He said he was your emergency contact and showed an old copy of your ID. We had no reason to suspect anything. What did he take? Everything. All your mail from the last week. I felt sick. My father wasn't just angry, he was trying to sabotage me. I rushed home and checked the mailbox myself. Empty, of course. Gone. Just because I wouldn't send him money. That was the moment I finally accepted something important. My parents didn't love me unconditionally. They loved what they could get from me. And now that I wasn't playing along, they were trying to punish me. But they had underestimated me. I wasn't the scared, obedient child anymore. I wasn't the quiet one who swallowed everything. I had grown. I had learned. And I was about to prove it. I started by calling the post office and putting a hold on all mail. Then I contacted my bank, my employer, and my credit card companies to ensure no one else could access my account information. Thankfully, nothing had been tampered with yet. But the real shock came the next morning. My HR manager emailed me. Your father called us, she wrote. He pretended to be you and asked for your pay stubs. We refused, but we wanted to notify you. That was it. My father didn't just want money. He wanted my financial details. And he was willing to impersonate me to get them. Something inside me ignited, a growing flame of determination, of anger, of clarity. I realized I had spent years trying to earn my parents' respect, their approval, their affection. But all I ever got was manipulation disguised as love. It was time to fight back, not with insults or arguments, but with something much more powerful. Distance, boundaries, and truth. I contacted a lawyer. Not to sue them, not yet, but to protect myself. My lawyer listened carefully and said, "You're not the first person to deal with financial manipulation from family. But you don't have to tolerate it. And you don't have to go through it alone." For the first time in a long time, I felt safe. But things with my parents were far from over. Because the very next day, they did something that crossed every line imaginable. And that was when my revenge truly began. The house felt strangely silent the day after I confronted my parents with the bank statements. I expected more angry calls, more guilt-filled voice messages, maybe even relatives lecturing me about Izat and family duty. But the silence stretched hour after hour, and for the first time in a long while, I felt a kind of peace. It wasn't victory, just relief from constant emotional pressure. I spent the morning cleaning my small apartment, letting the quiet settle inside me. Yet deep down, I knew this was only the calm before another storm. Around noon, my phone buzzed with a message from my cousin Sana. "Call your mom." Something happened. That single line tightened my chest. I dialed immediately. Mom's voice came through weak, almost trembling. She didn't sound angry this time. She didn't even sound like the mom who used to scold me over every minor thing. I need you to come home," she whispered. And despite everything, despite the shouting, the manipulation, the accusations, I went. Because I wasn't raised to abandon people, even when they pushed me away. When I reached the house, I saw Dad pacing the living room, red-faced and sweating. Mom sat on the sofa, clutching tissues. My sister Lily was nowhere to be found. Before I could ask, Mom burst into tears. She drained the account, she cried. She took everything. I didn't respond. I just stood there, waiting for the truth they had avoided for years to finally spill out. Dad slammed his palm against the wall. She said she needed help for a business opportunity, and we trusted her. She said you would replace the money eventually. And then she just left. His voice broke on the last word. The bank account they had been demanding I help refill was wiped out, not by me, the so-called useless, but by their golden child, the one who could do no wrong. The one who never sent them a single dollar but always returned home with excuses that Mom readily believed. Mom looked at me with puffy eyes. "We thought she was responsible. We thought you were just jealous of her success." I sat down slowly. The room smelled the same, tea, dust, old wood, but everything felt different. All the weight that had been placed on me for years suddenly swung back to them. "You called me useless," I said softly, not out of anger, but out of exhaustion. "Because I didn't send money like Lily. But she never sent you money. Never." Dad sank into a chair, burying his face in his hands. It was the first time I had ever seen him look defeated, not angry. Mom wiped her tears but kept her head down. "What do we do now?" she whispered. For a moment, I was speechless. All my life I had been taught that responsibility meant sacrifice, my money, my opportunities, my peace. And now they looked at me with the same expectation again, the unspoken plea hanging in the air. I took a slow breath. "I'll help," I said. Their heads snapped toward me. "But not the way you're imagining." I laid out my conditions clearly and calmly. No yelling, no accusations, no favoritism, no more blind trust in Lily. And above all, they had to acknowledge the years they spent devaluing my hard work while idolizing someone who never cared about them beyond their bank account. Mom began to cry again, but this time it felt different. Her voice was small, almost childlike. "We didn't know. We should have listened to you." Dad nodded, shame etched across his face. "We treated you unfairly." It was the closest thing to an apology I had ever gotten. But the real test came a week later when Lily finally called. Her number flashed on Dad's phone. He answered immediately, putting it on speaker, expecting another set of well-crafted lies. Lily didn't disappoint. "Dad, I'm in trouble. I need a little more money, and then I'll pay everything back. I promise. I'm starting something big." Dad didn't say a word. Mom didn't either. Their eyes turned to me, and I shook my head gently. No, Dad finally said, voice trembling but firm. You took from us. You lied to us. We trusted you. And you blamed your mess on your brother. No more. Lily screamed, cursed, yelled how they were choosing the wrong child. Mom flinched but didn't break. Dad hung up on her after years of enabling her. The silence afterward was heavy but liberating. For the first time in my life, I wasn't the villain in my parents' eyes. The rebuilding process wasn't quick. I didn't immediately pour money into their account. Instead, I helped them set up a budget. I taught them how to manage expenses. I showed Dad how to review bank statements properly. I got Mom in touch with a community group that helped older adults with financial planning. Every step we took, I made sure they participated. I wasn't their ATM. I wasn't their backup plan. I was their son, and I was finally being treated like one. A month later, as I sat with them drinking tea on the balcony, Mom placed her hand on mine. It was shaky, hesitant. You're not useless, she said quietly. You never were. We believed the wrong person. Dad nodded. You're the only one who stood by us even after we pushed you away. We don't deserve it. I didn't reply immediately. I just looked out at the sky, the fading orange of sunset stretching across the horizon. The anger that once lived inside me had lost its sharp edges. I didn't forget what they had done, but I wasn't carrying the bitterness anymore. I'm not helping because you deserve it, I finally said. I'm helping because I choose to. Mom squeezed my hand tighter. It took time, but our relationship slowly mended. They stopped comparing me to Lily. They stopped demanding money. They started asking for help respectfully. And most importantly, they began appreciating the quiet, consistent way I lived my life. Sometimes revenge isn't loud or dramatic. Sometimes revenge is simply becoming someone they cannot ignore, someone whose value they finally see not because of money or gifts, but because of truth, patience, and strength. Lily never returned the money she stole. She drifted further away from the family, always chasing the next grand idea. And for the first time, my parents didn't run after her. They stood with me. And that, in the end, was the closure I never knew I needed.